Hello and welcome to Atop the Fourth Wall, where bad comics burn. Patreon-sponsored review time again, and we've got ourselves another audio podcast. Okay, time for an old man rant before we begin here. See, I'm old enough to remember when the term podcast was first invented. For the younger crowd, it was specifically tied to the iPod, Apple's now defunct but hugely popular MP3 player. Now, obviously you didn't need the device to podcast, but when the term came about, it was pretty much in relation to unscripted discussions or maybe scripted news delivery. But at some point, I think around the time Welcome to Night Vale became popular, the term podcast suddenly was synonymous with any non-music digital audio-based release, and video releases for that matter. And this really kind of bugs me. Look, I get it. I lost this battle already. There is nothing actually wrong with calling things that don't match with what podcasts used to be podcasts, but like, the term audio drama already existed for scripted fiction audio. Video-based discussions? Talk show. Why did a podcast suddenly have to envelop other media that already had terms? And if you're wondering why I'm rambling about terminology like this, I should point out that I don't really have much to talk about with this intro. Midnight Burger started life thanks to screenwriter and playwright Joe Fisher during the pandemic when he was like, we're incredibly bored and everything is horrible right now, so we should make something. So he and his partner Finlay Stevenson did just that, and the show is still going at the time of this video's release. Hell, looking at the playlist, the episode lengths have just gotten huge. The shortest one we're talking about today is 28 minutes. The latest 2.5 hours. The patron wanted me to talk about the first 6 episodes, but number 5 and 6 are both 50 minutes long. Sorry people, but I'm trying to keep my own episode length down in this web series as it is. But yeah, seeing as this is an audio drama slash podcast slash whatever you'd like to call it, we'll be handling this like I did Minister of Chance and Chimes of Midnight. Mostly still frames representing the actors, any visuals I can scrape up, but mostly just me expositing to you what's going on in this. Admittedly, this one's a bit harder to do than those previous ones, since I don't really have pictures of the performers, but there does seem to be art of the characters that I found on the Midnight Burger Wikia. So let's dig into Midnight Burger chapters 1 to 4 and see what it's all about.
Welcome to Atop the Fourth Wall, where bad comics burn. Linkara's gonna teach you all a lesson you won't learn. What's with these awkward subjects? What's all this art so rubbish? To anyone who's had a bad comic published, it could be your turn. Linkara, he is a man, punch, sporadically a grouch. Linkara, he has his own spaceship, but he's always on his couch. Linkara, ghosts, gods, a universe in flux. Linkara, this comic sucks. Linkara.
We begin chapter 1, The Transdimensional Haboob. Ugh, such a decades-long cliche to name your first episode that. Is there no originality anymore? With actually a political action ad about how the USA has a problem with discrimination against former felons who have served their time regardless of how long ago it was. Just the tone you want to set in your first episode about wacky sci-fi and fantasy shenanigans. It's certainly a fair thing to talk about, and right before that the creator was mentioning how the show is not free to produce, so I don't doubt this was paid for. It just kind of gave me whiplash when I first listened to it, because I couldn't tell if it was actually part of the episode at first. But no, a minute and a half in, we get our true beginning as a woman named Gloria walks into a diner in the Arizona desert.
Hi, I'm here for the job interview.
The what?
I'm sorry, lady, I don't actually interview people. I much prefer to complain about people not wanting to work anymore. She explains that there was an ad and that the applicants should show up at 6, but the guy at the counter, Casper, has no idea what she's talking about.
This is Midnight Burger, right?
I mean, there's official artwork of the diner with a big sign that reads Midnight Burger on it, so I'd be very confused if that wasn't the case. Or maybe this place is called Eat.
The nights we'd linger over brandy at Eat.
He recommends she have a seat at a booth and he'll be right with her. There's an old radio playing with what sounds like televangelists who go by the name of Effie Mucklewain and her husband Zebulon. Some parents name their children after important historical figures, some after long-lost family. These parents said, I want my child to represent my love for 50s B-movies. The two begin talking about a change coming, and then specifically make mention of something from Gloria's past and a person being in a lonely diner outside Phoenix. Before Gloria can really contemplate the implications there, a customer in the diner, Ava, asks if she has a cigarette, and is delighted when Gloria is able to give her one.
Are you, having a hard time quitting?
I am having a hard time starting.
I keep trying to smoke the menu, but it just doesn't work for some reason. When Casper returns, she inquires about the radio show, and he says that the Mucklewains spread the gospel to the greater Toadsuck region, which he explains is in Arkansas.
Why is it playing here?
They're even worse at geography than Linkara.
Why is it on the radio in Arizona?
Right, because Arizona is where we are right now.
Nice execution.
You're doing terrific.
Casper properly introduces himself and Ava, whom he explains is actually a theoretical physicist with multiple doctorates under her belt. Gloria just expresses her frustration that Casper, who seems to be the only one who works here, is unprepared for any kind of interview. Everything is weird, and she's broke right now and starts to leave. However, Casper tries to cover for this, saying management doesn't tell him these things and tries to interview her. Gloria explains that she's been working in food service her whole life and previously had a taco place that shut down because of the pandemic. She mentions she has no family anymore, and he inquires about the ad some more. However, she notes that it's odd he mentioned management at all. It's a random diner in the middle of nowhere, not a chain restaurant. Look, truth be told, this used to be a Denny's, but then there's been a bit of a secret coup d'etat happening here, and new employees kind of make things difficult. She says it was a Craigslist ad, and Casper says this has never happened before. She asks how he got the job working here, but he just says he doesn't know. He walked in one day looking for a place to be.
Have you ever done a job interview before?
You haven't tried to ask me where I'll be in 5 years, ask me what my greatest weakness is so I can joke sometimes I work too hard, or lowball me on the salary offer even once. She says the interview is going very poorly and suggests the next part of it would be Casper talking about himself some more, and he does so, saying that he pretty much does everything around here because his chef left them unexpectedly. Ava is their only regular customer, and their clientele can be challenging. Dude, I worked at a Waffle House for a few years. I can handle it. While the ad was for a waitress, she offers to help in the kitchen, but Casper then interrupts and suggests that she needs to leave now.
This place is an embarrassment to all restaurants, and you have no customers.
Even Hardee's is laughing at you right now. She's so pissed about this whole thing that she wants to be offered the job just so she can turn it down, but then Ava reports that something is coming. They check out the window and what looks like a sandstorm approaches, but the other two report that it isn't one. The storm engulfs the place and they can't see past the parking lot anymore. And Gloria's car disappears, though the two say that it's more likely that it's the diner itself that's moved rather than her car. Ava tells Casper to go to the back door, then tells Gloria that she's going to throw a rock away from the diner that will magically hit Casper.
When that happens, tell me how concerned you are about your car.
I mean, if spatial distortions are happening, I'd still be worried one of your thrown rocks is going to hit my car. It does indeed hit him, and she explains they're in a pocket dimension, only 6,500 feet across. However, they're not alone, as soon a guy named Leif comes in. Casper reports that Leif is their former cook. He says they need to leave, but Gloria finally demands an explanation for what the hell is going on. Naturally, it's the radio who explains it.
Gloria, you have entered into a period of wandering.
Specifically, we need you to wander us back to Arkansas because we're kind of lost ourselves. Unfortunately, they speak in vagaries like that, and Casper says they need to put a pin on that for the time being. Leif explains that he put them in a pocket dimension to hide from a trans-dimensional haboob, to the shock and horror of Casper and Ava.
Gloria, how you doing, darling?
This must be Thursday. I never could get the hang of Thursdays.
Leif starts to explain how he pissed off the haboob in a card game in Andromeda when Gloria asks what the hell a haboob is. Ava says that it's like a living dust storm. Except instead of dust, it's made of antimatter. So it's probably not going to be any more helpful with your car, Gloria. It's also massive and a super being and pissed off right now, so it's likely to kill them all.
Which I will apologize for many times over, I'm sure.
Well, that makes it better. Imagine if you were killed and the guy responsible was rude about it. Leif says the pocket dimension is going to leave them behind soon, and once they're out, the super being will rush them. As such, Gloria jokingly suggests they leap out of the way, which she laughs about because she thinks she's having a psychotic break. However, Leif thinks that might work after a fashion. Send the diner back along a particular timeline, and it might throw the thing off their scent. As such, he's going to use the ingredients they have in the kitchen.
He's going to cook something to make us go back in time?
Sure, anything's possible if you cook drugs in there too. The pocket dimension collapses as Leif whips up his time travel hash browns or whatever, narrowly escaping the Haboob's attack. They return to Arizona, but they're moving backwards through time, so they actually witness the past version of Gloria rewinding back into her car and away from the diner. While they speed up through time, they finally explain to Gloria what the hell is going on.
Hey, Zebulon, could we get some, explaining what the hell is going on music?
Stephen Sondheim tracks coming up. Ava explains the deal. As part of her multiple doctoral studies, she looked into the fact that the universe is, dying. Constantly. Things breaking down, reforming, breaking down again, etc. However, unlike her colleagues, her scientific equations pointed to the idea that there might be an area of the universe that does not experience change and entropy and decay the way the rest of it did. It was simply a constant, never changing or altering.
Everybody said I was crazy, which, as a scientist, is when you know you're awesome.
Damn straight! Ava sought out this singular point that wasn't dying, and discovered it was the Midnight Burger Diner. They have no idea why it's a diner, but it is, and everything else that Ava has studied about it has been purely theoretical. It doesn't have a fixed location. It shifts around in time, space, and reality every day at 6 p.m., hence why it's so bizarre that Gloria would discover an ad for it. Still, Casper suggests that the universe, being a place where the only constant is change, hates this place and will send stuff like the transdimensional Haboob to destroy it. Okay, but I thought that one was Leif's fault. Unless he cheated in poker against the universe, it can get kind of testy about that. This is why you don't play for real money, kids. Play for Starburst or something. The diner is like a virus to the universe, constantly under attack by cosmic antibodies to destroy it. Casper theorizes that the diner lands in places where they're needed. In this case, Gloria needed something in her life after the closing of her own restaurant, and some other stuff in her life leaving her aimless. It's like Fantasy Island, but Mr. Rourke is a guy bad at job interviews. He says that everything out in the universe is dying, and sometimes people need a place, even if just for an hour, where they don't feel like dying. He says that, but then someone tries their pancakes. Leif explains that he's just a mellow sort who kinda wanders around existence in all of its various forms, but usually finds his way back to the diner. Gloria's a little taken aback that he's just a regular dude when he was able to make them travel through time like he did, but he says it's not about the cook, it's about the ingredients. Meanwhile, Gordon Ramsay is screaming at this guy because a good chef can turn leftovers into a gourmet meal, and also he's not happy about the tachyons he cooked up.
And they're all fucking overcooked, raw. This is not normal.
Zebulon and Effie offer no real explanation of what they are, simply that they're spreading the gospel, as it were, though say it doesn't really matter, that sometimes the Lord works in mysterious ways and we should just welcome it and be friendly to it rather than try to interrogate it for explanation. And indeed, Gloria is soon swept up in the majesty of seeing history unfold around her. Nature changing so rapidly, ages of time sweeping away and altering. Ava suggests they stop at the Devonian era to check out giant mushrooms, though Gloria is worried about altering history.
The butterfly effect is sexist. Only a man could think himself so important that even his slightest action could influence the time stream.
Okay, but as far as I know, Gloria's a woman and she's the one asking about it, so maybe it's not gender-based? Although wait, if the time stream won't be radically altered, can we still go and kill Hitler? Because I still think that'd be neat. Gloria seems to have calmed down after getting to experience another era in history, Ava encouraging her to stick around and see these kind of wonders for herself. Still, they can't stay long and start moving again.
Muckle Waynes, we're going to have to pick up the pace. How about some traveling music?
Moving right along.
They zip to the Big Bang and use it to slingshot back to where they started in Arizona, losing the Haboob. Casper encourages Gloria to return to her car, ending out the first chapter. On to Chapter 2, Planet Straightforward. And I guess Gloria is just working at the diner now, despite her not saying she was at the end of the last chapter. I mean, sure, the Wikia says she decides to stay, but all we got out of it originally was her acknowledging Casper's, "You should go back to your car since we don't know if we'll still be around," and she was just like, Right. That was it. Was there a different version of this released later where she said, you know what, I think I'll take the job, or something like that? Because in the version I have, it's very ambiguous. We also learned that everybody but Gloria has been pronouncing Leif's name wrong. He says it's Leif, but Casper and Ava think it's Leaf, and they can't tell the difference when it's pointed out.
My name is Leaf now.
We also learned that they suck at running the diner, since Gloria is the one who has to point out doing all the side work necessary before you open, refilling sugar containers and napkin dispensers and stuff. I mentioned it before, but Gordon Ramsay's gonna show up, and it's gonna turn out Leif's kitchen hasn't been cleaned in centuries, and he's got uncooked dark matter right alongside cooked gravitons.
Hey, Panini Head, are you listening to me?
Yes.
You're gonna kill someone.
The diner materializes on a new world, and Casper explains to Gloria that once he opens the doors at 6, one of two things will happen. Someone will come by who needs them, or something will try to force its way in violently to murder them all. Either way, the tips won't be great. They've arrived in a forest, something that Effie and Zebulon had predicted for them. And indeed, the other part of their prediction, teeth, comes true as Gloria finds a piece of an alien jawbone outside. The two soon hear a growling noise and decide that it's option B and quickly go back inside, lock the door, and inform the others of what they heard. Ava suggests that maybe they've landed on planet Irony and the creature they don't see is actually really tiny, but upon hearing the growl again, she says it's probably Planet Straightforward then, which is where we get our title from. They describe the creature as if a shark's head was put on a desiccated corpse, which certainly paints a picture, though the episode image shows this thing, which I would describe as more of a xenomorph or cone head shape than a shark. Otherwise, they also note that the thing's teeth look similar to the jawbone that Gloria found and brought in. Oh, great first day on the job, Gloria. You found a Q-bone and pissed it off by taking its mom's skull. It can't get through the door, and Casper suggests they wait it out, but Ava and Leif are a little confused since, as said, it's just so straightforward. A monster trying to get in. They've encountered much weirder stuff than that, so to just have something like a big monster trying to bust in seems oddly simple. Despite Casper's objections, the others try to figure out what the creature is and what its deal is. The creature soon leaves, and Casper wants to just end the discussion on it, but then a new creature appears. One that looks like a cute cross between a pig and a panda. The first monster returns, and they assume it'll murder the pig panda, but then it just ignores it and continues to stalk the diner. They resume speculating. Maybe the pig panda tastes bad, etc. Casper insists they stop the discussion for whatever reason, and they go in the back to play a game, but Gloria stays behind, still confused by the creature's behavior. Until the Mucklewains admit that they actually know what the creature's deal is, but held off because Casper was so uptight and grumbly, figuring they'd just explain over food. Seems rude to be talking about other people as if they're not there and that thing is standing in the forest, but go on. They say that the creature and its race were artificially created. For what reason isn't said, but they do say that the creature isn't eating the pig panda because it's a cannibalistic race. They only eat their own. Makes the family Thanksgivings really awkward after a while. It's only attracted to the diner because it can smell the jawbone Gloria found. And the Mucklewains admit that, yeah, the species is kind of sad since their instinctive desire to eat their own means there's no solidarity or friendship between them. It's lonely, and its existence is filled with either hunting or being hunted. The situation is, in fact, exactly what the diner is for, and Gloria elects to unlock the door and go out to it, explaining that it was just the bone it smelled, but invites it to sit in a booth. She pours it some coffee and says that it can hold the coffee and pretend for a while that the world is not miserable. The others return, and Gloria explains the problem, asking Ava how they could change their nature. The only thing they can figure is if some massive event, an unknown X factor, was introduced that forced them to change and evolve differently so they didn't eat each other.
Something like a good cup of coffee?
We've secretly replaced the bloody flesh of their own kind with Folgers crystals. Let's see if they taste the difference. We end the episode with Gloria inviting the Mucklewains to play some soothing music, a rather lovely instrumental rendition of Ave Maria, for the creature and declaring that this is a good job. Millions of these creatures would soon die because their biology couldn't handle caffeine. Moving on to Chapter 3, the X stops by. It's a busy evening for the diner, arriving in Kentucky in the mid-30s, where they're serving a bunch of striking coal miners who keep being racist or sexist to Gloria.
If it makes you feel any better, half of these guys are gonna have their legs broken by a Pinkerton by the end of the week.
Worse if they're carrying any Magic the Gathering cards. Casper's in the middle of an inventory since they're having stock issues, which seems odd to me since I thought this place was a universal constant. Then again, how does that work when you're inside it? I could see aging stopping, but but you're still acquiring knowledge and memories, so you are changing to some degree, and objects get moved around and cleaned and eaten and etc. Still, the other residents of the diner are having a good time. Zebulon explaining how he and Effie will play along with the time period to not spook the locals, so Effie is currently role-playing a radio personality called Calamity Jane, who smokes and swears and supports the Union. Ava, in turn, is enjoying the rougher atmosphere and encourages the miners to sing protest songs with her. Someone even brought a guitar! Okay, but now do classical gas. Later, once the miners have left, Casper explains how the supplies work. The walk-in fridge will magically restock, but it's not something they can predict when it'll happen, so oftentimes they need to make an emergency grocery run if it hasn't happened soon enough. Leif somehow knows how to make time period appropriate currency using the pasta maker.
Crunchy fucking linguine. No spinach.
And everyone but Gloria splits up to head to the local grocery store to get their supplies with 4 hours to spare. Effie and Zebulon retreat to have radio sex, or however that works when you're just a voice, but whatever. ASMR maybe? A woman suddenly walks in and not only wonders where Casper is, but recognizes Gloria, leading to an odd moment. She says, "Target acquired," but then all of a sudden Gloria is arguing with the woman as if she was someone she knew in her old restaurant, angry about something, and then the woman storms off. When Gloria recovers, Ava walks in and claims that she's been gone for an hour, despite Gloria not experiencing that full time. Gloria tells her about what happened and how she was arguing with the woman as if she was Ricky, her possessive ex-boyfriend. When Leif returns, they explain that they've encountered her before. She's some kind of trans-dimensional being who takes on the persona of your most hated ex-boyfriend/girlfriend/etc. and you're forced to argue with her. She's a supreme annoyance and always makes their lives miserable whenever she stops by. Naturally, they call her the X, formerly the Twitter. Apparently, Casper is most deeply affected by her, and when he returns, he demands they try anything to stop her from entering, but from experience, they know that not even locked doors seem to stop her. They put Casper into the walk-in so he can rant and ramble about her while they discuss what to do now. Eventually, she just loses interest and leaves, but it's always an emotional wreck for them. Ava describing the experience like when an ex stops by, acting casual, but then wants to rehash an old argument they never got emotional satisfaction from, then leaves when they realize they won't get said satisfaction. Leif wonders if the X is not actually a trans-dimensional being, but some kind of constructed entity deliberately designed to be the way she is due to her narrow focus in existence. A robot. If she's like a machine designed to act this way, he suggests they overload her. Effie and Zebulon have been together since they were kids. They have no prior relationships, so when the X arrives, they can distract her with the story of their romance, then all the others all confront her at once and argue like she's each of their exes, keep her from being able to focus on one target, and hopefully completely overwhelm her until she short-circuits or the like. Man, you've never had a fight with an ex if you think you can overwhelm them with your own complaints. They spot a bar fight across the street and figure that must be her handiwork and get ready in case she returns. Gloria inquires about Ava's ex, and she describes her ex-boyfriend Chad, who, of course, as she describes, had a personality whose name was also Chad. Still, she was apparently at fault for the breakup, having snuck into the bakery he owned and stolen a cake for a party with her scientist colleagues. Gloria's ex, Ricky, was apparently very old-fashioned and was expecting Gloria to be stay-at-home and pumping out babies. For Leif, it was an alien, and they broke up for a disappointing but understandable reason: their genitals weren't compatible. And hey, sex is important for some relationships, and if a hole isn't a hole, but actually hair nozzles that spray out shrimp, it can kind of break the mood. Unless you're into that, I don't judge. The ex walks in and asks where Casper is. The other is currently hiding. Zeb and Effie begin their recollections, but the ex ignores them, simply saying, "Scanning for target." God, we defeated Skynet in the future, and it just got so needy with its Terminators instead. The other three jump out and confront the ex, quickly getting into simultaneous arguments with her, and it actually works. While the arguments do reveal that the three were not exactly saints themselves, I mean, Ava obviously not, but eventually she does indeed overload and shut down. They get Casper out, but Ava wants to know why someone built this thing specifically for him, since it was always looking for him first and foremost. He evades the question, and the others are just happy for the cathartic experience. Casper volunteers to drag the remains out while they handle the groceries. The remains of the robot do speak to him, and it's clear Casper knows more than he lets on, that the love he and his ex had was fragile, and she suggests he's just wandering. Zeb and Effie overhear all this, apparently privy to this information, and of course swear secrecy, though suggest that Casper needs to know the difference between searching and running. Casper says he knows which of those he's doing.
Effie, How about some drinking music?
Unfortunately, she selects Chumbawamba's Tub Thumping. This brings us to the final chapter we're looking at today. What's the frequency, dearest? Our crew are chilling out in the diner, and I just realized, where do they sleep? Like, did they pick up air mattresses during a stop, or do they cram themselves into booths? With Ava deliberately annoying Leif with the classic, is a hot dog a sandwich debate. They're 2 hours away from arriving at their next destination, and Gloria asks our radio hosts where they're heading, but Gloria trips on the power cable for the radio and bumps it, changing the frequency dial and losing contact with the two. Casper says he doesn't know what their frequency was, that the two always instructed him to never change the station, so he kept it as is. That'd be fine, just search around for them again, except the diner decides to break. They suddenly stop while in deep space, right near a supermassive black hole. And that's a situation bad enough for any sci-fi story, but even worse here because remember, this isn't a TARDIS or a starship or anything, it's a diner. There's no way to control it or move it. Okay, I suppose you could turn tablecloths into a crude sail, but I don't think that'll help here. Gloria thinks they might be okay since the place is supposed to be a universal constant, but they point out that they themselves are not invulnerable, so they might still get compressed by the black hole. Then again, if they can breathe in space while in the diner, it must provide some protection to those within it. Gloria starts turning the dial to try to find the two, noting that there aren't any numbers on the dial. They find Zeb and Effie's voices, but now they're sports commentators for a football game. While Leif uses the shockingly functional phone to try to call in a sports bet, Ava realizes that the diner picked up speed when they were on a functioning station. As such, they wonder if that means the diner is controlled via the radio. The worst part is that those dials use inverted controls too. Turning the dial again gets the two voices into an episode of NPR's All Things Considered, but yet again the diner accelerates. However, Ava realizes after they tune off of it again that numbers were mentioned in both broadcasts, specifically the first 10 prime numbers. Since introducing prime numbers is a method of making first contact with an alien species, or navigating a giant cube full of traps, Ava thinks they're trying to communicate with them, but they can't do it directly. As such, their next dial turn brings up some sort of local access gardening show that encourages listeners to call in. Using the phone number they provide, Gloria calls in to ask about the problem, via gardening metaphor, but Ava quickly orders her to turn it off again. She thinks the phone number provided wasn't intended to call in, but rather giving instructions for the dial, using Cartesian coordinates to match it. Casper orders Leif to dump the grease trap. It doesn't provide any propulsion, but the force apparently can get the diner spinning to help put them into more of an orbit around the black hole. A decaying one, but buying some time. Turning the dial again, they get an aggressively honest commercial for a meal delivery service that includes posting fake photos of you to your social media enjoying the meal while you're just eating out of styrofoam. Also known as Fridays at the Atop the Fourth Wall house. I kid. It's Thursday nights too.
Like you, when I think of home cooking, I think of having someone do something for me.
So, by that logic, does that mean that pizza delivery is home cooking too? They turn the dial, and we get an actual sponsored ad for Factor, which seems at odds with what just happened, but whatever. I don't get legit sponsorships for this show. I get offers, but they claim to be from Sony, despite their email address being a random string of letters and numbers, so something tells me I'm not getting that PS5 and headset they're promising. After the next radio program is a sitcom, they're directed to a Frasier-esque call-in psychology show. Casper, sick of the runaround with all this, calls in and demands their help, stating that he relies upon them. Everything is so uncertain and difficult, but that he needs them. And then the broadcast just goes to static. This is why call screening is a thing in those kind of shows. Casper steps out into the parking lot in despair, but Gloria notes that they used a rather odd vocabulary word in their broadcast. Going back through each station they had already done, each broadcast includes an odd word or incorrect word that stands out. The last one signals them to combine the first letter of each word, forming the Latin word for go in, implying that the correct course of action is to enter the black hole.
Sounds like a really crappy plan, but okay.
Leif walks out to explain all this to Casper. Casper talks about how, for the longest time, it was just him and the Mucklewains before the others arrived. They went through a hell of a time, and he depended on them to help him get through it.
When you literally don't have ground beneath your feet, other things become the ground.
Don't make Jell-O that ground, though. I learned that the hard way. Casper doesn't deal well with things that don't work the way they're supposed to. He doesn't explicitly say it, but he seems to have a sense of just wanting things to be orderly and functioning. When they don't, he panics or is unable to cope. We saw that when Gloria turned up for the job interview. Anyway, they approach the black hole and the two go back into the diner. Once they've gone through the hole, they emerge out the other side fine. Effie and Zebulon back as well. However, the two claim that all that happened was that they lost contact with the diner for a second and then they came back, not knowing what they're talking about concerning the other stations. Still, whatever force was responsible for everything that transpired, they seem to have allowed the group a break, landing on a planet with a pleasure cruise available for them to enjoy for the day. And so our episode ends with Ava saying that she still has questions for them, but Effie just says that only the Lord has answers. Based on just these first 4 chapters, the show is pretty damn good. I feel like the pacing could be stepped up a little, but man, I have missed shows that featured a self-contained plot in each episode while still advancing the characters. Certainly groundwork for future storytelling is put in, the mystery of what happened with Casper's former love, the true nature of the Mucklewains, who put the ad in for the waitress job. But what I find interesting is that while time travel is certainly an aspect of the show in these 4 episodes, so far the fact that they're in radically different times hasn't factored that much into the plot. Just a backdrop to where they are and some minor gags about the situations they find themselves in, instead focusing primarily on sci-fi concepts, the cannibalistic creature, the black hole, the X-Spot, etc. It's not like Doctor Who, where you'll have pure historicals in some rare cases, or have weird sci-fi stuff in a time period that shouldn't have it, but maybe that'll be more of a factor in chapters I haven't listened to yet. The characters are charming, Gloria serving as an excellent viewpoint character for the audience while demonstrating she's not dumb about the sci-fi stuff, just inexperienced with it. Ava feels like a cross between Rick from Rick and Morty and Cheryl from Archer. Hell, her voice kind of sounds like Judy Greer's to the point where I had to look up and see if they were the same actress. They're not, of course. Basically, incredibly intelligent, but very chaotic and scatterbrained at the same time. Leif might be a regular human, but he's been around the galaxy enough to be casual and mellow about the weirdness of it all. While Casper's own experiences have apparently left him a bit traumatized and unsettled by things, even if he's accepted that this is what his life is and he doesn't want to change it. Unlike Doctor Who audio dramas or the like, the use of music in the show is diegetic. No incidental or background stuff except for what comes from the radio, which might put off some people, but I think works well for helping keep us feeling like we're along for the ride with these characters. Honestly, I'm probably going to check out more of this when I get a chance, and you probably should too. Next time, another Patreon-sponsored review of a non-comic thing, but based on a comic, as we look at the 1987 TV movie version of The Spirit.
What the hell is wrong with you?
Well, that's a whole other conversation.
Hello, my friends. Please take a moment to like this video, subscribe to the channel, and click the bell for notifications on new video releases. If you'd like to support future videos, you can check out my Patreon, buy merch from the store envy link in the description, or check out the t-shirts available from Teespring. Thanks for watching.